So this is our first lesson in Unit 12-13, where we're starting to do, work on statistics here. And the focus of this unit is on collecting data that we're then going to analyze. So in our first sort of lesson here, which is kind of an introduction to the data collection process, we want to look at a couple of things. First of all, we want to be clear on what is data. And if we are given sort of an example of some place where they're collecting data, we want to be clear on two terms. We want to be clear on what the population is and what the sample is, and how those two things sort of affect our data collection process. So to start off with, data is basically just a series of facts or figures, okay, from which we can draw conclusions. Let's say from which conclusions can be drawn. One way of thinking about data is this is kind of the raw material of statistics. It's a list of numbers, or a set of numbers, or a series of responses. That there's some important stuff lurking in there. We've got to do something to it to get those conclusions or that important stuff out of there. Which brings us to information here. Information is data which has been recorded, classified, organized. We've done something to it so that we can interpret it. Okay? Data, let's say, which have been recorded, let's say organized, I don't know, related to one another or something. We'll just say etc. Within a framework of some kind. And the whole point of doing all of this is to figure out what this data actually means, so that the meaning is clear. So we take our data, we do something to it to turn it into information. Okay? Now, one of the ways of getting information out of data is what is called statistics. Okay? And statistics basically refers to a type of information so a way of organizing your data using mathematical operations. And of course, if we're going to use mathematical operations on our data is probably going to have to be numerical. Okay. It's possible that our data isn't. If it isn't numerical, we've got to figure out some way of getting it to be numerical or representing it numerically. So at this point, you can go to Learning Guide Box A, and that takes you through some exercises on the uses of data and the uses of information that you can get from data. Two big things we're interested in this unit, the terms population and sample. Okay. So the population, and we've encountered these two words before, okay, but let's just nail them down specifically. This is the set of all possible data for which conclusions can be drawn. Another way of thinking about it is that the population is the group that you're really interested in. This is what we really want our information to be about, the population. Okay? So let's say the group that is the focus of study. In order to learn about the population, we are going to take a sample. Okay? So a sample is the subset or a group chosen from the population, a subset of the population that will be measured. So if the population is the group that is the focus of study, the sample is, I was going to say group, but let's say the subgroup, to get across the idea that it's a subset of the population. It's the subgroup that is actually studied. Why not study your Sorry about that. Why not study your actual population? Because usually your population is too big, too spread out, there's too many of them, something like that, that it's impractical to actually study every single one of these things. So the idea here is that you want to take a small group of the population that is going to represent your entire population, study those, and then apply the conclusions from the sample to the entire population. And this is what most of statistics actually entails. So let's take a look at a couple of examples here. In each of these, we want to identify the population and the sample. So there's somebody named Mina here who wants to know which band Ontario high school students think is the best. Mina's friend Cindy goes to a different school, so they each survey students at their own school. We want to know what is the population and what is the sample. So in this one, I think the population is pretty clear. Who do they really want to know about? Okay? Yeah, Ontario high school students. Now they've decided that it's not possible for them to ask every possible Ontario high school student what band they actually like, so they are choosing a sample here. So what is the sample that they have chosen? Okay. Yeah. So students at Cindy and Mina's schools. Now, it doesn't say which students at those schools. It's just told us that they have surveyed some of those students at those schools. Okay. Sometimes it's not as clear what the population and the sample are here. You ask every student in your class about their favorite snack to recommend the type of snacks the cafeteria should sell. Again, we want the population, and we want the sample. In this one, I think the sample is pretty clear. Who are they sampling in this case? Classmates. You're asking your classmates because who do you really want to know about? Whose snack preference are you really interested in here? Okay? Yeah, all the students at the school. Okay. So the population is always sort of the widest possible group that your results are going to apply to.